Okay, I've been bubbling, so.
If you make a categorical statement that black men
as a
oppress,
whole,
it's just like saying Muslims are terrorists just because an individual commits a crime.
Welcome to Bridge the Gap, a show where we aim to build a bridge of understanding between opposing views. Each episode, you'll see our participants sit down to discuss some thought-provoking statements.
The phrase, black men oppress black women, is unfair.
If they disagree with the statement, they'll leave their seat and allow those that agree to explain themselves.
I don't understand how black men as a whole can have that sort of power when we don't have that sort of power in society at all.
Those that disagree then return and express themselves to the rest of the group.
But for me, the statement, black men oppress black women, is an attack on black men. It's an attack on patriarchy and sexism within the diaspora.
Hopefully building a bridge of understanding. Let's see what happens.
There is no such thing as preference when it comes to skin colour.
If you disagree, go over here.
Too many negatives. Yes, you know, those things. But when it comes to skin color.
Oh, that's so bad.
Okay, let me gather my thoughts now.
Yeah, I feel like you.
Because I have to stay now.
I think repeat the question then. There is no such thing as preference when it comes to skin colour.
Okay, so you can't have preference based off of skin color, basically. Right. Well, I know everyone's leaving, right? Because we don't want to.
I think I'm coming back. Sorry, no, I'm coming
Most
back.
people are leaving because
I think I understand it a
we
bit
don't
more
want
now.
to give. We don't want to legitimize the argument that you can discriminate based on race and it's just preference. So, like, you don't date. Like, if it's a white person who says, I don't date black women, right? But let's spin it. What about a black woman or black man who doesn't want to date outside his race? That's basically it, isn't it? And like I can imagine, and people frown at that. I'm not saying that's what I'm for or not for, but people frown at that. But at the same time, I can imagine other communities, like let's say the Jewish community or like Eastern Asians, like they don't necessarily call it for a Jew or something, right? But I can imagine, let's say a Jewish father telling his daughter that like you can date whoever you want, but when it comes to marriage, it has to be a Jewish guy. That's discriminatory. I mean, that might be discrimination, but at the same time, it's not frowned upon, right? And they have a very good culture insofar as how it works for themselves and how they keep wealth in their own communities through that discrimination. So, like if you spin it and you talk about black people who are fine with only dating within their race, then you should be over here because you have no problem when you're excluding other races. You know, you have no problem if you're excluding white people.
I think you can have a preference though.
Yeah.
How many times do you hear black women say they only like dark-skinned men?
I heard that earlier today.
myself slightly included. Like, not that I would only, because I might like a guy that's a bit lighter. I don't know. But I'm just saying, like, usually I would go for darker-skinned black men, and that is me kind of separating lighter-skinned black men out of the equation. So yeah, I think I can have a preference.
Something called assortative mating, where people are more prone to, just get with people who look like them. You know, you see that in different, especially in multicultural societies where, like the UK, US, where there's so many different people who are living together. They tend to just go for people like them, you know. So, like, it's techie because I know the reason why people left. It's probably because of, like, we don't want to say a white person who may be racist, and that's the reason for the preference. And you don't want to legitimize that by saying, hey, it's just my preference, I don't date black women, that kind of thing. But at the same time, if I'm going to flip it from black people who only date black people, that is that is basically your preference, and that excludes other races.
And we never say there's anything wrong with that.
You know what I'm saying? So it's discrimination, but
I don't think it's.
I'm not saying in a negative way.
I
I'm
only
not
think
saying
it's
with a negative
discrimination
connotation.
if you're actually discriminating the other person in a sense that you are like, I don't know, there's something negative. You're negatively talking down on them. There's something that's coming out of it. Like if you're just making a choice and you're just going about your business and you're not harming anyone or hurting anyone in the process, for me, I don't think that's discrimination.
Not based on belief.
By definition, I could be wrong, but I'm just saying how I view discrimination, and I don't think that's discriminatory. If I'm just saying I want to be with darker skinned black men, I'm not harming anyone else.
It's an interesting conversation. I can't wait to hear what all of that.
I'm hoping I stayed on the correct side. That made sense with my argument, right?
It's a tricky one. It's interesting either way.
I might need to skip again.
It's interesting.
So can you discuss why you disagree?
I think there's definitely preference in skin colour, skin tone. I think we've seen that throughout the years in terms of colorism. That's why there's a colorism debate. But there's definitely preference. Some people who may have fairer skins, or even in different nuances, like now we have like black girl magic and people are just loving off the dark skin tone. They will get preference in a particular thing. When before you couldn't be darker than a paper bag. Those who are lighter, they got preference. So yeah, there's definitely preference, and there's been preference throughout years, and there will be preference for years to come. As much as we discuss it, there'll still be preference for whatever reason. So there's definitely preference when it comes to colour.
I think preference is very normal as well.
So do you guys agree or
I'm
disagree?
just realizing I was supposed to be out there.
Do you disagree? Do you agree or disagree with the
The
statement?
statement says there is no preference.
There's no such thing as preference when it comes to.
So I disagree with that statement, and
Yeah.
I'm saying that there definitely
There's
is
definitely
preference when
preference.
it comes to skin tone.
Okay, I see. I understood it
Yeah,
differently.
yeah.
I understood it.
I
understood
understood it
that.
as you can't describe your desire for light skin as a preference.
Yeah,
that's how I took it.
That's how I
thought
understood
over
it.
there.
That's how I understood it.
Like,
There is no such thing as preference when it comes to skin tone.
How I view it is, as a black person, I see most things from the context of being a black person, right? And when we talk about complexion or preference of skin color, how that manifests within our community is very different to how it manifests in the white community. So we can't just talk about this as a blanket statement. I'm very big on nuance. And so for me, when we talk about this, it brings up the question of colorism, right?
Yeah.
And for me, that's what this boils down to. And I just feel like, when we say things, well, if a white person said that they only want to be a white person, I would look at you sideways. Because my reasons for wanting to be with a black person is never going to be the same as your reasons for wanting. Like, white people do not have to protect their whiteness. They do not have to sustain the existence of their race or their culture. It's never been threatened. So me wanting to be with a black person is me maintaining what's mine, me maintaining my culture, because it's under threat. Like, if these people could have their way, it wouldn't exist anymore. And again, it's the same thing when people say I only prefer dark-skinned people. It relates to the same thing. It's protecting that demographic.
Do you think that's a problem,
that. I don't think it's a problem at
I don't
all.
think it's fair to say that white people don't have the
That's
same
a good
reason.
statement from B.
No, they don't. But they can't. It's not even about. It's not
What
about
if they
opinion.
want to be
literally
with
can't.
white
have to
people
do this
because
right
they
now.
want to be with white people the same way we want to be with
I
black
know, but
people?
listen to what I'm
I
saying.
know our reasons are to preserve our race. I get it because of
Yeah,
everything
that's
that's
my
happened.
thing.
But that's
So
we
they
can't
can
say
want to
that
be
they
white
can't
people.
just want to be white
No,
people.
they
They
can't.
want to be
No,
white
I
people.
didn't say they
Why
can't.
are
I said they
white people
can,
in
but
this
it's not.
conversation?
But they can't justify it, and their reason can be the same, but
Yeah.
their justification for that
Can we
reason
leave that one?
will never be the same.
Because
That's
if
what
I'm
saying.
honest, I feel like preference, there's a lot that goes into it, by the way. The way I grew up, predominantly darker skinned men, so why not? I think they're cute. That's what I prefer. Not saying I rule out a light skinned man, but my preference is a black skinned man. So I don't see. Everybody has their preference, even from the way somebody dresses, the way they present themselves. I'm gonna find you a bit more. Ooh, there's a bit more oomph going on there, and that ain't a problem. I'm gonna leave. Not sorry to say, white people out of the conversation because I want to just keep it, because I feel like when we talk about colorism,
let's try and keep it in house.
Yeah, let's talk about
when it came to me,
said.
I was thinking, like the light skins, the caramels, all these names that are attached to black people.
No,
and I
but
just,
they did say race though. They said doesn't matter in terms of, does preference matter in terms of race?
colorism.
No, they didn't say race.
Skin
No, they
colour.
didn't say
Skin
race.
color. Skin color.
Skin colour.
Yeah, I'm sticking
Is
to
there
And everyone has
preference
skin
for skin
colour.
colour?
Yeah, I'm just saying, obviously we need to view it from a
I
certain
do side
shade.
with, I don't know who mentioned it, but the idea of just not speaking down to people based on their colour.
Yeah, that's
Simple
what I
as.
said,
yeah.
But I think if I
That's
like
where it
somebody
becomes a
darker,
problem.
Yeah, that's yeah.
So from
Bissy was going to say something.
Please continue.
Yeah, no.
so from my point of view, I think everybody's entitled to whatever preference they want. Right? You build this up from the books you read, the food you eat, the conversations you have with your parents, your cousins. For the most part, you'd like to think to be selective, but part of me thinks you don't. Part of me thinks you just go through scenarios, and maybe that person hurt you, therefore you don't like that sort of person anymore. Right? I think it's deeper than anything we can truly understand in a quick conversation, but I do think we should be open. We should truly be open. You know, smite yourself out of love because of your preference. Smite yourself out of being happy.
Yeah, we've
Should
seen
have gone
this completely
down to
differently.
like dating and love and the question
No,
or
but
the
still,
statement. No, obviously they are
different
all part of
motives
it.
for, and he's breaking it down to different motives for why people make the decisions they make.
That's a good point, though.
Decision.
Why should we even be open?
That's what I'm asking.
Because if all my life, you know, it's the chocolate boy that I wanted, why can't I get that chocolate man now?
Do you know what this comes to? I feel like this comes to then, and if we're talking, because speaking of romance very quickly, just to go off what you said, this comes to what people prioritize. If love is at the top of your list and that's all that matters to you,
Then-
of course you will go for anyone. Of course, like where someone comes from, the culture, that stuff doesn't matter. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I feel like it's actually probably very freeing to live like that. Me, I'm not that free,
Not me, bro.
but I feel like it's very freeing to live like
agree
that.
with the saying
It'll be a boring world for all the same.
Pardon?
you guys believe that they're saying that love doesn't have a colour.
Yeah, I do agree.
I do
But again,
Love
I think
doesn't
that's
have
I think
just
it's a
love.
choice.
Love
though.
doesn't
I
have
think
a
it's a
colour.
Love
choice.
has a colour because love is active, by the way.
What
The way
do
I see it, I feel like
Yeah.
you can't see somebody. Well, some people can. That's good for them. But I feel like in order for me to get to know you and love you, there's certain actions that I'm gonna have to sacrifice. I'm gonna have to this. I'm gonna have to that. And I don't know. Just let's get back to the conversation. I think skin color is very important. If let's just say for me, a lighter skin man approaches me, it's not my preference per se, but I'm gonna be active and look past that potentially, and I will start to love them. But as it stands now,
Just to flip that real quick, if it was a black guy who said if a darker skinned girl approached you, it's not my preference.
that's his business, by the way, because you're not going to appreciate me, so you can go. Sorry. Just
I'm just pointing the.
I hear you.
I don't mean to be that
discrepancy,
person,
that's all. I'm
guys.
not
Be it,
saying-
be
I'm not
it,
saying
girl.
any-
I don't mean to be that person, but these things, when you flip them the other way, the implications are
It's
different.
different.
And I can't speak to
That's
any. I
conveniently
can't.
different.
No, it's not about. I'm light skinned, so it's not convenient for me. So that's not even an argument in terms of what I'm saying. Do you know what I mean? Because that's what I'm saying. I'm talking about. When we're talking about complexion, right? You're saying it's convenient,
It's a
different.
simple preference. Like if he says he's not into dark skinned women, the same way you're saying.
if I'm honest-
you're not into light skinned
Yeah,
women.
but
for
as
whatever.
offensive
But what
as
do you
it
mean by
is,
convenience then? Sorry, I don't understand.
it works in our favour.
But that's what I'm saying. It doesn't
It's not-
work in my favour,
It
but I
never-
still hold
never
that opinion. So it's not about it's not about convenience. That's what I'm saying for me.
She knows she's controversial. And
I
There's nothing wrong with
don't
that.
think I'm controversial. This is just a fact. If you ask me.
I'm just pointing that out. I'm
but
not
do you
saying
know what?
it's
I
wrong.
definitely get where you're coming from, and I see that it's an issue. But I think
I'm not
then
saying it's an
again,
issue. I'm just pointing.
somewhat is. But I just
I
feel
think
like
the point
I
I was trying to
follow.
make is that if we can say that guys or you can have a preference, then they can also have a preference.
I'm not even saying. I'm just.
don't let me
pointing
know
it out.
though.
Yeah.
Everyone can have their preference and everyone can
I'm
have
trying
their
to
preference.
Don't
You
let
can
me
have
know. I like it.
If it applies like guy, we can say we like the dark skinned men or we like the tall guys and we have our preference and we're entitled to our preference. Them too, they can now say they don't like dark skinned ladies or their preference is short, curvy women that are
I feel like they do
light
say it
skinned.
anyway. And
So he's just trying to say that if we can have a preference, they can have a preference.
if I'm honest with
course,
you,
yeah.
if I
No
heard
matter the social implications,
Yes, it's just
basically.
If I heard that, I wouldn't
just
be
because
offended.
there's
It is
social
about- that's what I'm saying.
implications behind it doesn't mean that I can't have that preference.
Yeah, no, that- yeah,
because
that's true.
me having that preference is not due to the social implications for that person. Maybe it's just due to them genuinely liking that type of person.